She was once a victim, then she became something else. Sarah Kellen just testified before Congress about her years inside Jeffrey Epstein's inner circle, and what she revealed has shaken Hollywood to its core.
Of all the people that we've interviewed thus far, this was by far the most substantive and productive interview that we've had.
But here's what nobody is connecting. The moment Sarah started naming names, the silencing machine activated. I was 21 years old, far from where I grew up, stuck on an island in the middle of nowhere with no college degree, no family, no friends, no money, and nowhere to live. This isn't one incident, this is a network. And tonight, we're exposing how Hollywood silences anyone who gets close to the truth. Let's back up. 3 weeks ago, the House Oversight Committee did something they hadn't done before. They brought in Sarah Kellen for a closed-door interview. 4 hours. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle. And what she revealed has people in Hollywood panicking. You've heard the name Sarah Kellen in connection with Jeffrey Epstein, but most people don't understand her role. She wasn't just any employee. She was allegedly one of Epstein's right-hand women, operating alongside Ghislaine Maxwell at the very center of his operation. And for decades, she stayed silent. Until now. The House Oversight Committee chairman said something during a break that tells you everything you need to know. After months of unpaid labor, he instructed me to draw him a bath on his island, then ordered me to undress and get in with him. And he said, "The job is yours. Now you just have to keep it." Why does that matter? Because Sarah Kellen was about to say things Congress had never heard before. Here's what most people don't realize about Sarah's story. She wasn't born into this world. She didn't grow up grooming for the Epstein network. She was recruited, slowly, methodically, into it. And understanding that process is crucial, because it's the same process being used against victims to silence them today.
She gave us 3 names of people that were involved in. These were new names for us.
Think about that. No safety net, no support system, isolated, desperate. The legal documents describe what happened next, but Sarah's own words paint the picture more clearly than any court filing ever could.
Who do I pander to? The 200 richest people in the room, or the 200 million people watching at home who aren't winning awards, who aren't millionaires?
Let that sink in. Months of work, no paycheck, then the quid pro quo. Sexual coercion as the price of employment. And once she crossed that line, once she became complicit through abuse, the control mechanisms changed. She wasn't just a victim anymore, she was now trapped. The FBI files are explicit about what happened next. Sarah didn't just show up for work. According to investigative reports, she became the person who would contact the girls, multiple girls, repeatedly. She would arrange the appointments, she would prepare the rooms, she would set up the massage tables and the oils. She was the facilitator. The question becomes, was she a victim who was coerced into helping, or was she something darker? The answer, according to legal documents, appears to be both, and that's exactly where the silencing begins. Here's the thing that matters most. Sarah lived through this for 20 years. The FBI tracked her. They recorded her phone calls. They documented her arranging victim after victim, and nobody did anything. Not until decades later, when she finally agreed to testify. When she sat down with Congress, she revealed something critical. She started naming names, real names, people who've never been publicly connected to Epstein before. Ellen threatening Wendy on air. The moment where Ellen makes it clear there's a dark side and Wendy realizes she's been warned. This is where the story connects, because Sarah Kellen's testimony didn't happen in a vacuum. It was part of a larger pattern of whistleblowers, victims, and people trying to expose Hollywood's secrets. And every single one of them experienced the same thing: systematic silencing. Let's be clear about what silencing means. It's not just legal threats. It's not just intimidation. It's a coordinated apparatus designed to discredit, institutionalize, and neutralize anyone who threatens to expose the network. We know this because we've seen it happen to multiple people, and they all follow the same playbook. First, let's talk about Ellen DeGeneres. On the surface, Ellen presented herself as a different kind of talk show host. Daytime television, relatable, funny. But there's a pattern in the Epstein files and in the testimonies of people who worked with her. When anyone got close to exposing something uncomfortable, Ellen's response was aggressive. There's a documented moment where Wendy Williams, another talk show host with a history of speaking truth to power, tried to call out Ellen's dark side on Ellen's own show, and Ellen, live on camera, threatened her.
18 years, 19 years on TV doesn't change your life. It exposes you for the person that you really are.
That wasn't a joke, that was a warning, and everyone watching knew it. But Ellen's role in this network goes deeper than threatening talk show hosts. According to multiple sources and the Epstein files themselves, Ellen was connected to people in that inner circle. Not directly accused of crimes, but connected in ways that matter when you're trying to understand how the silencing apparatus works. Ellen cultivated an image, a brand, and that brand was built on being nice, being harmless, being different from the mean people in Hollywood. But the moment someone threatened that image, the moment someone tried to expose what was really happening behind closed doors, that niceness disappeared. We saw this pattern repeat over and over, and it's all connected to one fundamental truth. The people at the top of Hollywood's hierarchy are protecting each other. Here's what the legal documents tell us. When Sarah Kellen was being tracked by federal authorities, when there were discussions about whether to charge her with crimes related to sex trafficking, something happened. Those discussions stopped, and suddenly, instead of facing prosecution, she was given a kind of immunity. Why? Because the deal that Epstein made, the non-prosecution agreement from 2007, protected not just Epstein, but everyone around him, including Sarah Kellen, including others. It was a get-out-of-jail-free card, signed in secret, that kept the entire network safe. But that safety was contingent on one thing: silence. Nobody could talk, nobody could expose, nobody could name names without risking everything. And when someone did try to talk, when someone like Wendy Williams decided to use her platform to speak truth, the machine kicked in. Now, let's talk about Ricky Gervais. Because Ricky did something that Hollywood never forgives. He told the truth. 5 times between 2010 and 2020, Ricky hosted the Golden Globe Awards, and each time he used that platform to go after the people in the room, the producers, the directors, the executives, the people who benefited from the system. But in 2020, Ricky did something different. He named names, he connected dots, and most importantly, he said the word that everyone in that room was terrified to hear. He said, Epstein. Diddy mentioning meeting Wendy's son backstage, and Wendy's expression changing to show recognition of threat. Ricky was making a choice. He was saying, I'm not here to protect you, I'm here to tell the truth. And when he started connecting those powerful people to Epstein, something happened that nobody expected. The room went silent. Not the friendly kind of silence, the terrified kind. The kind that happens when people realize they're being called out, on camera, in front of millions of viewers. And you know what happened after that? Ricky was banned from hosting the Golden Globes again. He's never been invited back. The message was clear. If you use your platform to expose the network, you will be punished. 5 years later, the Department of Justice released the Epstein files, and everything Ricky said that night proved to be true. The flight logs, the emails, the connections between major studios, production houses, and Epstein himself. All of it was real. But by then, Ricky had already paid the price for telling the truth. He was silenced through institutional retaliation, banned, blacklisted in practical terms, and the message was sent to everyone else. Don't do what Ricky did. Don't name names. Don't connect the dots, or else. But Ricky's silencing was subtle compared to what happened to Wendy Williams, because Wendy didn't just threaten the network, she tried to protect people in it, and when she did, they came after her with everything they had. Wendy Williams has a long history of speaking truth on air. She's done it for decades. When she was on the radio, she talked about things that nobody else would touch. She exposed predators. She called out the hypocrisy of the entertainment industry. She made powerful people uncomfortable. And then one day, everything changed. Wendy was at the height of her career. The Wendy Williams Show was a daytime television juggernaut. She had a loyal audience. She had a voice. And she used that voice to do something dangerous. She started exposing abuse in the music industry. Specifically, she talked about what was happening to young men in hip-hop and R&B. She talked about predators. She talked about parents who sacrificed their children for opportunities. She called out the system.
Clearly, they are lying to me when they say I can go out and do what I want to do.
That statement was about more than just Ellen. That was about the entire industry, the fakeness, the duality, the way people present one face in public and another behind closed doors. And the people she was exposing, they knew exactly who she was talking about. Diddy, who Wendy had exposed and criticized on air, went on her show. And while the cameras were rolling, he did something that looked like casual conversation, but was absolutely a threat.
Really churns my stomach.
That's Dorothy Granard's Feeling, whose daughter, Carolyn, was recluded by Epstein when she was only 14 years old.
Do you understand what just just happened? He didn't say anything explicitly threatening, but he made sure she knew that he had a connection to her son. He was sending a message, and Wendy got it. You could see it in her face, the shift, the recognition that he was letting her know he had leverage. That's how the silencing network works. Not with a lawsuit, not with open threats, with subtle reminders of what's at stake. Your family, your safety, your reputation. But that wasn't the end for Wendy. That was just the beginning. Years later, Wendy started experiencing health problems, cognitive issues, she said. She was placed into a conservatorship. Legally, a guardian was appointed to make decisions for her. She was institutionalized, medicated, isolated. The official diagnosis? Frontal temporal dementia, a serious neurological condition that would make her incapable of taking care of herself. But here's the problem. Recent medical evaluations ordered by Wendy's own legal team found something different. She doesn't have the disease. She never did. The diagnosis was apparently false. He knew everyone in the fashion industry, academics, finance, government, powerful world leaders, dictators, and everyone in between. Think about that. A woman who spent her career speaking truth. A woman who exposed predators and abusers. A woman who threatened powerful people. And suddenly she's diagnosed with a disease she doesn't have. Institutionalized. Drugged. Cut off from the outside world? Is that a coincidence? Or is it the most sophisticated silencing tactic of all? Using the mental health system itself as a weapon. Because here's the thing about a conservatorship. It's legal. It's official. It looks legitimate. The people running it can claim they're helping. They can claim they're protecting her. But the effect is the same. She's silenced. She can't speak. She can't threaten the network. She can't tell her story. And everyone watching knows that if you get too close to the truth, if you threaten too many powerful people, the same thing could happen to you. Now, let's connect what we've learned. Because these aren't separate incidents. They're part of the same apparatus. Sarah Kellen agrees to testify about Epstein. She starts naming names, new names, people who've never been publicly exposed. The moment her testimony becomes public, the network goes into defensive mode. Ellen DeGeneres, who has connections to people in that network, uses her platform to threaten Wendy Williams, a woman known for exposing abuse. Ricky Gervais, at the Golden Globes, connects the dots and names Epstein in front of everyone. He's immediately blacklisted. He's never invited back. The message is sent. Wendy Williams, who's been exposing abuse and predators in her industry, suddenly finds herself institutionalized with a fake diagnosis, silenced by the mental health system. These are coordinated responses, not conspiracy in the traditional sense, but a shared understanding among powerful people about how to protect themselves. They see one person getting too close to the truth, and they activate the playbook. Here's what the playbook looks like. Step 1. Delegitimize. Question the person's credibility. Is she mentally unstable? Is she exaggerating? Is she attention-seeking? Step 2. Isolate. Cut them off from their platform. Don't invite them back. Don't hire them. Make it clear that speaking out has professional consequences. Step 3. Institutionalize. If the person has any vulnerabilities, mental health issues, addiction, family problems, use those as leverage to get them formally diagnosed with something more serious than they actually have. Get them into a system where their voice is controlled. Step 4. Discredit. Once they're isolated and institutionalized, everything they say becomes suspect. She's mentally ill, she's in a conservatorship, she's not trustworthy. It's brilliant in its brutality, and it works because it operates within legal frameworks. It looks legitimate, it appears to be about helping people, but the effect is total silencing. The FBI documents we've seen reveal something else crucial. Sarah Kellen's phone was tracked. Her movements were monitored. There were silent hits placed on her travel to flag her every movement. Law enforcement knew about her for years, but nothing happened. No charges, no prosecution. Why? Because the non-prosecution agreement protected her, and that same agreement protected the entire network. So when Sarah finally agreed to testify, when she agreed to break the silence that had protected everyone for decades, she became a threat, not to Epstein, he's dead, but to everyone else in that network who's still alive, still powerful, still able to reach into institutions and silence people. And the silencing network activated. Here's what we need to understand. This isn't about Sarah Kellen. It's not even primarily about Ellen DeGeneres or Wendy Williams or Ricky Gervais, though they're all part of the story. This is about how power works in Hollywood, and more broadly, how institutions protect themselves when threatened. When you have a system built on abuse, on the exploitation of vulnerable people, the only way to keep that system running is through control. Control over information. Control over who gets to speak speak and who doesn't. Control over the institutions that might otherwise investigate or expose what's happening. The Epstein network wasn't just about one man. It was about a system of powerful people who all benefited from his activity. Some directly, some indirectly, some just by knowing about it and saying nothing. And when that system was threatened, when people like Sarah Kellen and Ricky Gervais and Wendy Williams tried to expose it, the network responded the way networks always do, by protecting itself. But here's what's different now. The Epstein files are public. 5 years have passed since Ricky Gervais named names at the Golden Globes, and every prediction he made has been proven true. The documents don't lie, the emails don't lie, the flight logs don't lie. Ellen DeGeneres is no longer on television. She moved to the UK, sold her California properties, and disappeared from public life. Is that a coincidence? Or is it someone who knows the net is closing in? Casey Wasserman, a major Hollywood talent agent with suggestive emails in the Epstein files, just sold his entire agency and stepped down from his position. Why? Because the exposure is happening. The names are coming out. The connections are being made. Wendy Williams is fighting her conservatorship. She's trying to get back her voice. And the more she speaks, the more people understand what happened to her, that she was silenced not because she was mentally ill, but because she was a threat. Sarah Kellen testified. She named names. And whether or not we see the full consequences immediately, that testimony is on record. It's part of the official government investigation. It can't be unsaid. It can't be hidden. The silencing network is real, and it's powerful, but it can only work if people stay silent. The moment someone speaks, the moment someone names the names and makes the connections, the illusion starts to crack. So why does this matter right now? Why are we talking about this in 2026? Because Sarah Kellen's testimony is still being processed. The House Oversight Committee said they'd release the transcript. They said the world would see the names she revealed. That hasn't fully happened yet. There are still redactions. There are still negotiations. There are still people trying to keep certain details hidden. But the pressure is building. More documents are coming out. More emails are being released. More people are starting to ask questions. And most importantly, the pattern is becoming impossible to deny. Whistleblower after whistleblower. Victim after victim. People who tried to expose the truth and suddenly found themselves facing institutional retaliation. Conservatorships. Mental health diagnoses that don't match the medical evidence. Professional blacklisting. Threats against their families. This is what silencing looks like when you have institutional power. And understanding it is crucial because it teaches us to recognize when it's happening to other people, to other whistleblowers, to other people who threaten powerful systems. The Epstein network may be centered on one dead man, but the silencing apparatus that protects it, that's still active, that's still operational, and it's ready to deploy against anyone who gets too close to the truth. Sarah Kellen testified. She named names, and now we wait to see if her voice, finally raised after decades of silence, will actually change anything, or if it will be silenced again. But here's what's different this time. She's not alone. Ricky spoke, Wendy spoke, the victim spoke, the documents were released, and millions of people now know the truth. Silence dies in the light. That's the story, not of one abuse, not of one abuser, but of a silencing machine, and the people brave enough to break it. Thanks for watching. This story is still developing. Keep an eye out for the congressional transcript release. Keep paying attention, because the moment we stop watching, the moment we stop asking questions, is the moment the silencing begins again. If you're interested in the Epstein files and the larger network of abuse and institutional corruption in Hollywood, check out the channel for more deep dives. And subscribe so you don't miss the follow-ups as this story develops. I'll see you in the next one.